Anyway, so these magic rituals are found in texts from all varieties of South Asian religion: Jainism, Hinduism, Buddhism, and even Islam. I don't have time to go into the details about all these religions, but it's kind of wild that Jains, who practice extreme asceticism, vegetarianism, and nonviolence, actually have rituals for how to kill people, which is just nuts. So what does that tell you? It tells you that this mode of magic appealed to Buddhists, to Jains, to Hindus. I even have a text I found called the Islami Tantra, which is a Muslim Tantra about these same types of magic rituals. So all these rituals done to kill and seduce and usurp someone's position demonstrate, like we heard in Greece, the sort of fraught, agonistic culture that these texts come from. We see the tension. And magic here, again, shows us the cultures, the cultural tendencies, the material cultures, what was around, how people thought about things. Like when you look at the way that people relate to sort of animals in magic, and I'll get into this more later, it's really interesting. Like, what did we learn about the Uyunks bird? One, we heard that there's a kinky, lascivious bird. Despite the ritual, that's nuts to just learn that that's was how they were thinking about this wacky little bird. Okay, the Shat Karman. Shat Karman means 6 results. The word karman, you may have heard the word karma before. Karman means an action. Specifically, ritual actions are called karma or karman. The term karma means an action, so that, or it means a action, so that your actions that you do in this lifetime determine the actions you will do in the future. Your karma tendencies cross life, and the rituals you do cross your lives in the future. A lot of people think of karma as what you do comes back upon you, or what goes around comes around. But in fact, what's more intricate is that, and a better understanding of karma in this context is that the actions that you do right now, you will tend to do the same acts in the future. So your habitual tendencies now will be your habitual tendencies later. So it's almost like there's a determinism that what you're doing now will kind of lay out what you're going to do forever after. You're just going to keep doing the stuff you do. So what are the 6 ritual results? Actually, let me say something else first. So karma in general is more than just what goes around comes around. It's not like the Wiccan rule of 3, which states that thou hast obeyed the law, but mark well, when thou receivest good, so equally art bound to return good threefold. So, and then he says, this is Gerald Gardner wrote this, is a very important founder of the Wiccan religion. For this is the joke in witchcraft. The witch knows, though the initiate does not, that she will get 3 times what she gives. So she does not strike hard. Now, I remember sitting with a number of occultists in the 90s, as I did, and a buddy of mine was talking about, he was a ceremonial magician, he was talking about doing some very aggressive rituals. And this, charming little Wiccan girl who'd probably been a Wiccan for like a year, my buddy had been practicing ceremonial magic for about 15 years, says, no, you can't do that because what you do will come back upon you 3 times. And my buddy just turns to her and says, I'll tell you one thing, I am not ruled by the Wiccan reed. I got nothing holding me saying that 3 times it's all coming back. And it was just this interesting moment where one person had this like notion of balance in the universe. What you put out, you'll get back, and it'll be revisited upon you. And it's like a very kind of positive way of looking at things. He's like, nah, I'm going to do rituals to kill people. That's what I'm going to do. Why? Because they're bad. And when you get right down to it, there are bad people in the world, and maybe they do need rituals done against them to bind them or destroy them. Anyway, my point is, when thinking about karma, it's not just what goes around comes around. So what are these 6 rituals? I will read 8 of them for you, because whether 6, 8, or 88, they will all be called Shat Karma. They will all be called 6 results. And the next lecture after this, I'm going to go into these in deep detail, because this is something I think about a lot. So Shanti Pushti. This means tranquilizing or increase. You may have heard the word shanti before, which means peace in many languages, but shanti means to tranquilize. And it can also be a euphemism for to kill. Then you have vashikarana, literally to make someone your slave, to subjugate someone. Stambhana, mobilizing, to force something to not be able to move, to freeze something in place, to remove fire's ability to burn and water's ability to drown. Mohana, bewildering, making someone just crazed and agitated and whatnot. Often this can be described as fascinating, a word that goes way back. This is really similar to our agoge spells, the way someone is just so agitated by the arrows that's been put upon them. Vidveshana, creating dissent or mutiny. I like to explain this, that it's taking people who are formally intimate and making them hate one another. Uchatana, eradicating. So that's taking someone and forcing them away, keeping them away from you forever. Some spells say that they wander the world, a foreigner wherever they go, unable to stop wandering. It sort of sounds like in sort of African-American hoodoo, they call this the hot foot. You do a magic ritual to give someone a hot foot, and then they leave your presence, but they're always wandering around. It sets them to wander. Attracted. Akarshana is exactly the same as agoge. It draws someone forth. And finally, murder, marana. Now, these are aggressive rituals. They are done to harm people. I've argued they're like cookbooks to literally or figuratively screw your neighbor. The tantras themselves are like big books of recipes on these. All of these rituals and results, in one way or another, usurp the wealth, the family, or the social position of victims and targets. So let's look at two quick examples. We're going to get a bunch of these later. So mohana, bewildering, or kshobana is another word they'll use, like agitating. You take tulsi leaves. They should be dried up in the shade, mixed with vijaya seeds, mixed with physialis flexurosa, easier to say ashwagandha for me, tawny-colored cow's milk, the milk from the kapila cow, banyan tree seeds, and abris prectoris, which is called rakti. All are measured in equal portions. Due to consuming this concoction, from the moment he rises in the morning, he bewilders all of mankind. This is a Hindu text from the Yudhisthira Tantra that I've translated. So it's not just Hindu. So here we've got a Jain Tantra from a text called the Bhairava Padmavati Kalpa, which is a great little Jain Tantra text. And it's interesting because Jains are so nonviolent, but all the ritual results are in there, including murder. So in one section, after a really complicated description of a yantra, which is sort of a magical diagram, yantra actually means a machine. So it's a machine that's a diagram that does something. Sometimes I think about that all too hard. Okay, so they describe this really complicated magic diagram. Upon a slab of wood or rock, he should inscribe this full yantra using haritala, manashila, and so forth as ink. The results of the ritual are the immobilization of anger, kopa, kruta, motion. Someone can't move, their gait, someone is unable to move. Armies cannot move. And fire, when fire is immobilized, it means that it can't burn anymore. It can't affect anyone. I mean, also, I can't help but think this immobilization of anger kind of has some connection to our Greek notion in philia magic, that as anger is removed, so is sort of potency, machismo, and sexual desire. There's something there. All right,